November 17th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is how I saw the charts today. There was no economic data to really move the market any which way. Looks like prices pretty much stayed within a 27, 25 point range effectively. I actually didn't take a single trade today. I didn't see anything that set up quite right. There were some good trade possibilities, but unfortunately, for one reason or another, I didn't catch it in time, or I didn't trust it till after later review. I realized they're probably good trades. So it looks like in the pre-market, things were just kind of looking like they're going to be range bound because this is the highs of the pre-markets and the low of the pre-market. But as soon as it opened, it just kind of flushed. Then there was prices spent a good 2.5 hours. 2 hours, I would say, yeah, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours in this very, very slow consolidation area, trading range. Then it kind of broke out, and then it looked like it kind of fell into a different little consolidation area. Price action was very slow today. The volatility and the volume of, well, just the volume was really low today. So I'm going to get into the trades right now. So this is the pre-market. I don't trade the pre-market. And it looked like it just made a couple of moves. It hit the top and it started selling down. So on the open, I just started noticing, not now, but I noticed, okay, so it wasn't coming back to the EMA. And I first drew this down channel, this yellow down channel had an overshoot, created a symmetric overshoot. Then it looked like it fell into this second green down channel. And there was no real good trade to take that I could see because these were just very, very tight, side by side, very organized sell off. So I couldn't find a good, clean second entry short or failed second entry long that I could trust. So I just sit on my hands. And as I mentioned, it just took a while for these candles to close. Like between candles, as the day went on, it took my up to 2, 3, 4 minutes for each candle to close. And on a typical day, depending on the time of day, they usually close a lot faster. So kind of hits this consolidation area. It looks like piano keys. And at first, I thought the trading range was something right here, the highs here and the lows here. I actually had the lows a little bit higher, about right here. And the first setup that I saw is this new high. It's a first entry long, pullback, second entry long. And then I also saw this as potentially a failed second entry short starting from here. I saw first entry short, pullback, second entry short, and then it pushed up. And right here, it made the second entry. So in real time, you see this, or I saw this. It creates a second entry long and a failed second entry short. Now, what I didn't want to take a trade just because right here, higher lows were being made as well as lower highs. So it looks like there is kind of a little bit of a compression happening. And depending on how you did the count, I took it from here. This could actually be a third entry short. So it's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, third entry short. But I took it from here and I took it as a potential range here. So it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't really like this setup. Prices then continue moving. I only marked it though because I thought there was 2 key entry points here, but it just didn't feel good enough, and you don't really have the EMA to help because it's kind of flattening. Then prices kind of broke downwards, and this is where I actually saw the next setup. I saw this is, so these are all matching highs, so I took the highs starting from the count here. I said first entry long, pullback. This creates a second entry long and a potential fail breakout of this blue trading range. And I thought this was actually a possible trade, but in real time, I didn't think too much of it because I wasn't really sure, and I don't think I was mentally there today. So first of all, this is the signal bar for the second entry long. It's a bad signal bar, but what saves it is this trigger bar breaks below the signal bar, then flushes and engulfs the entire signal bar that was terrible and closes here. So this, I think, would have been an ideal trade if this signal bar had just closed more bullish, and I'm pretty sure I would have had a trade ready because it's potentially coming back from a failed breakout. But I didn't have the trade ready, and it looks like it would have worked out pretty well. So it's like range bound. And at this time, I wasn't sure if potentially the bottom of this blue trading range could actually be lower right here. So I drew this as well as I drew a top one, thinking maybe the trading range is slightly wider and I'm working in the sub trading range because it respects this top side pretty well. it just gets congested. EMA is starting to push upwards, so it's pressing against and compressing prices. And right here, it's kind of obvious that there is another congestion area, another little trading range here. So I'm just watching carefully. There's no real clean setup. It breaks through, comes back down, comes back, it's chopping around, comes back and tests the bottom of this blue trading range, my original one. It bounces, it keeps going. I don't see any good clean setup that I like. It comes back and tests the highs. So now I'm thinking maybe the trading range is actually this low here and potentially the high right here, with the potential that there's some kind of support down here as well. So I'm just watching prices move. Comes back down, it breaks through the low, creates a new low, and is coming back in. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's a larger trading range here. And there's some kind of respect being played to the smaller, tighter trading range. So it comes through, it's potentially a fail breakout. And I do see a second entry long here. So I took this as a new high. Saw this is coming down, first entry long, pullback. This is a double matching candle. And well, this is a doji, and this is what I meant to say is they have matching highs and matching lows. And this actually creates the second entry long, and it's a pretty decent signal bar, but I didn't really feel like it was a safe trade because it's a little bit far from the EMA. You could argue that it's just showing very good strength and it's potentially pushing back up to hit either this resistance or this resistance. So this might have been a trade, but I don't know if it was kind of losing steam because the breakout was a little bit lower. So it broke out and is coming back strongly, but these candles are really strong until it hits these two dojis. So it looks like there's a moment of indecision. So here, when it creates this, I don't know if this, this area of congestion is actually going to come back down, pull back down to potentially here and then make another leg up. So not knowing, I just had to sit and wait. I wanted a kind of a higher low confirmation to feel confident. You get kind of a higher low here, but it's not a very convincing signal bar. And even though it closed above the EMA, so it's good that I didn't think to check a trade because it comes flashing back down, kind of keeps consolidating inside this trading range, the small sub one. And I see a new high here because it's clearly, its count has reset. So a first entry long here creates a second entry long here. Now the second entry long is also coming back from a potential failed breakout, but the failed breakout is a little more shallow than the previous ones. It's a good signal bar. It feels a little bit congested here, so I really wasn't sure if this is a worthwhile trade. So I decided to just sit on my hands. And it just continues chopping. And depending on what you're going for, you probably could have gotten a 1 point scalp, but it just looked noisy. And to be honest, yeah, I've been sitting here for a couple hours watching this kind of noisy trading. So I wasn't too keen on jumping in on anything because it felt like this could either go for a while or it could eventually break out to the top side or the bottom side. There could be an argument for both because right now it came from a very high point and it broke down, it's consolidating, so you could think it's going to make another leg down, but it is showing some strength. It's making higher lows every time, so you could also make the argument that it's potentially going to break out, but you don't know right now, so it's better for me. I thought it was just to wait. It starts breaking through. So at this point, I think there's some kind of support, some kind of channel going up. So I actually drew this support red trend line and I made a matching channel up here. And I was playing with it kind of during the real time, making them a little bit tighter, a little bit more shallow, kind of having it cut up, see if I could have prices fit a little bit better. And one time I had it something like that. It hits the top and it's debatable whether there's an overshoot or not. But if you count it as an overshoot, then you can think prices are come back down to the other side, and that's exactly what they do. So it creates this setup. Now this setup I thought was potentially a possible trade because it creates a new high double top here, makes a first entry long pullback, creates a second entry long here. Well, now you know for sure it's a second entry long, but you could suspect it's creating a second entry long, maybe have an order ready. And because it's bouncing off this clear red channel support going up, and even though there's a breakout here, there's only three ticks of risk, so it might have been something worthwhile taking. And depending on how you drew it, it might not have been a breakout because it could have been something like where my green line is here, something closer to this. So you could have potentially captured all this, and though there's like maybe a small little breach on the top side, it's debatable whether there's a true breakout or not. So my point being, it could have been just a bounce point instead of thinking there's going to be a breakout here. So In hindsight, I think it might have been a worthwhile trade. You could also see this as one leg down if you didn't count this as a first entry long. So you could see a break and then a potential second leg. However, this is a little more encouraging, and you had enough room to the highs of this range. And if you're playing the higher range, you still have enough room. When prices continue moving, I see another setup. I see a new low. I saw first entry short, second entry short. I also saw here a new high, first entry long, second entry long. And it's bouncing off the top of this range as well as this larger range. If you were playing this larger range, it's looked like it's holding. So prices are holding outside of it. So this is a potential setup. The only thing I wasn't too keen on was there wasn't quite enough room to the highs here. So this is a little more congested, it's tight price action. So I wasn't sure if there would be enough strength to push on up and through. It did though. And then what sets up is, I think, an even better setup. It's a higher low because it's a higher low confirmation. It's bouncing off the red channel, I don't know, fourth, fifth time at this point. And you already have a clear indication that, prices are holding. It's clearly bullish. It's above the EMA. You have a pretty decent signal bar. It engulfs this red bar. So if you saw this as a potential area to go short, thinking that prices are going to come back down into this range, it would have ticked one tick down and then gone up and also gone up one tick higher. So I like that this candle went and did that, but I didn't have a trade ready, and then it looked like it would have worked. Prices then moved into this gray region, which is the pre-market highs and lows. But at this point, I wasn't really giving too much respect to this pre-market high and low because price action has just been very slow. So until it gets up to this area, I wasn't going to be too concerned. But I did consider the fact that there may be one leg up, pull back, and the second leg up for this measured move. So here I'm just waiting. It comes back, it bounces, and it creates another second entry long. So it's a new high, it's a first entry long, pullback, creates the second entry long. Now, I don't quite like this second entry long as much as I liked these second entry longs. The reason being is, yes, it's a clear second entry long, it's a decent signal bar, it's bouncing off the EMA, but we have seen previously the bounces off EMA could eventually break below, whereas there is a very strong, proven support off this red line. So this had this actually just been, another move and it came all the way back down here and bounced off, then I would have felt more comfortable. So I think if you took this trade, it would have been, it's a little more aggressive. There is kind of an area of congestion. So I ended up leaving it alone. Then prices continue moving up. It completes the measured move. I'm looking for another potential. So it breaks out, and I'm thinking it's going to either touch this side and bounce. So I'm waiting for that to happen. Comes back, it touches, and it breaks through. So now that it broke through, I'm a little more cautious now because the EMA is kind of above us. Comes back, and now it looks like it's having trouble breaking through the EMA. I drew this shortened trend channel coming down, but my overall belief is that things are still pretty bullish because previously it was bearish, consolidated, and now it looks like the market's recovering. However, I do know that the price action today has been very slow, and I wasn't too eager at this point because I was getting a little more mentally fatigued, and I was suspecting I might get sloppy with some trades. So I decided, be very, very careful. You do have a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. You have a second entry short failure, but by the time this candle closes, the trade has already been made, and it's not holding against this red up channel as clean anymore because it clearly broke below, dwelled below it for a while, and then came up. I did try at certain times to try to make that fit by having this maybe touch here and touch here, but every time I try to capture it, it kind of made the confirmations down here not as clean because now these guys are sitting above it as opposed to, having this as a breakout. So I just kind of kept it as my original red channel and treated this as a breakout. Then prices continue chopping. Looks like it's falling into its another trading range. Breaks out. But at this point, as I said, the day has already been pretty long and I didn't take any good trades. I did find a couple of good possible trades, these asterisk ones. But at this point, I was just thinking, I might just decide to end the week with no trades and just watch carefully. Prices then continue moving down, and it's just I've kind of decided that okay, it feels late in the day to try to take my first trade unless something absolutely remarkable happens, but there wasn't really any clean setups. And this is already very late in the day. It was already at 12:50, so there's only 10 minutes left in the regular trading hours, and I decided I was just going to hang up my hat. Came back and looked at it and just really didn't see anything that I liked too much, and it just went into the close. So overall price action again was very slow today. There were a few setups, but I unfortunately wasn't able to capitalize on them, and it resulted in a no trade day. Now next week is going to be only 3 trading days, and then there's Thanksgiving and a half day of trading. I'm debating whether I'll just take the whole week off because I don't know if I want to come in and try to fight even less volume because the most volume will probably be on Monday. I don't know that it's going to be any better or more exciting than it is today. And then Tuesday and Wednesday will just taper down even more. And definitely Friday being a half day, it's not even worth trading. So that's kind of how things look, and hopefully that was helpful.